Hello everyone and welcome to this interview with Chee Bravo. My name is Weronika Piurek and I am a curatorial intern at Alpha Art Gallery, where you can see Chee Bravo's works displayed at the current exhibition Shifted Nature. Hello Chee, it's very nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you, Veronica.
Nice to meet you too, okay. Can you tell us where does your inspiration come from?
Okay, my inspiration actually comes from observing people. Looking at people, and I'm inspired by individuals who look different, who are different. And for me, imperfection makes interesting. So a lot of my portraits, to me, beautiful is, I guess, in the eye of the beholder. But to me, what really inspires me is if the person has a certain look, not quite normal, what people consider normal, or not, stunning or beautiful, but interesting. I also am inspired by artists like obviously Andy Warhol, right? Who I never liked at first, but after reading about him and going to the museum in Pittsburgh, his the Andy Warhol Museum, and learning about his craft and how he got to where he was, to me, he's a true genius, to take simple things, everyday things, and turn it into art. I mean, at that time, it was like a no-no, right? People separated art and
normal life.
Normal life, commercial art wasn't considered art, but he made it into art. Yeah. And after doing, I realized, even though his screens look simple, it's not really simple. If you try to replicate it, there's a lot of thought that goes into the simplest silk screen that he did. So it made me appreciate his work a lot more. And from that time on, I'm really inspired by him. I've seen his work too in in the museums. I'm also inspired by Yoko Ono, who I also didn't think of too much. I thought she was just, eye candy for John Lennon. But I mean, I was truly blown away by her one-person show in New York a few years ago. It was a retrospective of her work, and she did like a lot of video, a lot of mixed media, whatever it took to make the type of art that she wanted to make. I'm also inspired by a guy called by the name of Peter Mitchell, and he is a local. He's actually a Trinidadian who is a big name in the Trinidad Carnival back in Trinidad and Tobago. And when he first came on the scene, the costumes and the whole revelry of the performances and stuff totally changed. It went from just a spectator's event to like a performance on the street, on the stage, on the street for the 2 full days of Carnival. I'm also inspired by an artist called James Turrell, and he had a fabulous show at the Guggenheim a couple of years ago in New York, and his pieces are based on light. So it was very, very engaging, very, it was nothing like I've ever seen before, So after I saw his show, I went online and I checked all his stuff out, and it's truly, truly amazing stuff. I've always been inspired by graffiti artists, who do their art on the street, And my first visit to New York, I was really blown away too, because in those days, back in that time, which was a couple of decades ago, graffiti was everywhere. It was on the subways, it was on the buildings, it was everywhere, And it was kind of frightening, but it was new, new and interesting and intriguing, So, and then actually I had a teacher, her name was Lisa Dross, and she was my printmaking teacher. And, a bunch of other printmakers that I know that I've met, since doing my art full time. But it comes from everywhere, like you and everybody else, you get inspired. Sometimes you start one thing and then you see something else or something else hit you and you're like, you gotta do that, so you kind of working like 1, 3, 4 things at the same time because, that's the fun part of it, that makes the whole art making fun. Yeah, right. Because it can get kind of boring when you're doing the same thing over and over, Right?
Yes, and then you see someone and some kind of art, and you think, wow, this person is a genius. I've never tried it myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wish I could be a little bit more free, because I'd like to take my still screening to another level, which would be incorporated, do some mixed media and stuff like that. But since I think I'm still learning, so I want to really get a good grip on it before I actually tear it apart.
And did you ever try to do graffiti yourself, or did you do one in New York?
I've spray painted some of my work, but it's so hard. I mean, I don't know how they have such good control, but I guess it's practice, right? So, but I've done some stenciling on my work. I've done, spray painting, and I need more practice. I need some buildings to practice on, So, but I'd like a couple of my pieces did require a bit of graffiti type thing in it, and I did what I could, I figured it, I did it, but it would be kind of nice actually to do a piece with a graffiti artist, like you do a collaboration or something.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah,
that would be. Now that I'm saying that, I'm like, okay, I know a couple of artists, maybe I could, ask them, right?
Do it.
Right? I know.
You are creating in a very wide range of mediums. I was wondering if you could tell us which one is your favorite one to work with.
Yeah, because I started as a printmaker, I feel comfortable, doing printmaking. And I also feel comfortable painting, even though I didn't quite study painting in college, but you kind of figure it out, lights and darks, negative and positive spaces, and you figure that out, right? So, for example, the painting right behind me, after I did a few of the silk screens, so I kind of wanted that same look, but so it actually is, I wanted it, I get tired of doing the same thing sometimes. So in the paintings, I do like 3 different styles, which is like a graphic kind of style in the background, a kind of impressionist in the middle ground, and then realistic, type in the foreground. So you can kind of see a little bit of that going on. So it's kind of it's interesting and it's exciting for me to like jump from different styles too. I don't know if you feel like that too, but
I think it's natural for human nature to try different things.
And I think, and what I try to do too is that I try to make it exciting for me, as a viewer. So hopefully when other people see it, they would kind of get excited too, and get a feeling of what I was trying to do, or maybe I try to get an atmosphere when I'm doing my work. Like in the subway performer one, it's like really tight, it's really congested, it's really a lot happening all at once. So all the senses and stuff, come at you. So that's what I try to get in those pieces, and hopefully that's what the viewer sees.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to mention that to me, your series of street performers is very dynamic, vibrant. It makes me almost hear the music that is played and feel this atmosphere. You show them with such attention to the details and with such a care for people that you are depicting. It's amazing because you really captured this atmosphere, and you really did all the things that you just said you want people to see. I think it's very
oh, thank you.
to people.
Yeah, well, that is exactly what I want. The first, and actually I'm kind of going to answer another question here, which is why I choose the subway performers.
Yes.
And it's because my first trip to New York, which was a couple of decades ago, 20 years plus ago, coming from an island down in the Caribbean, this small little island, never been to a subway, I've never been to a big city, and I got to New York and I was totally blown away by the energy, energy. I'm like, oh my God, so I'm like down in the subway and it feels like everybody's being herded like cattle, because the train, everybody gets off the train and they know where they're going and everybody's hustling, and I'm hustling too, but I have no idea where I'm going, so I'm like, I don't even, but you're just kind of going with the flow because everybody's going in one direction. And if you don't know where you're going, you might just end up somewhere, who knows, and that's what happened to me the first time.
Wow, that's really fascinating, I think, like an adventure.
It is an adventure. So coming back, I lived in Miami for a while, a long time, because that's where I met my husband. And then in 2011, he got a job up in New Jersey, up here. And we came up. I left my job and followed him, the whole family. We came up here. And I was so excited because I'm just a train ride away from the city, So I headed into the city. I go into the city a few times, maybe a couple of times a month, and I just ride the subways, and meet people and take pictures and stuff like that. And this one time I started doing just basic Grand Central, and then all of a sudden I found these people performing, and I'm like, oh my God, it was like the echo, everything around you, it's like echoes, so you can hear them a mile away, and you're going to be seeing somebody soon doing something, playing some instruments, singing or whatever. And that's where I found the subway performers and, decided to do some research on them and found out that they're actually given licenses or permits to play, and most of them, there's some that just go in and play anyways, and then they leave when the cops come by or something, or if they're not supposed to.
So you need to have like a license to do it. It's not allowed there. Okay.
Yeah, so they usually give them a permit, and they audition in the spring. Every spring, there's auditions, and new performers go on audition, and they get this permit for life.
How people react to your works? Do you get any feedback from the viewers of your work?
Yeah, I've gotten actually. Well, the thing about it too is that a lot of people don't really know anything too much about silk screening, so they think because it's also commercialized, there's a commercialized aspect of it too, right? And they think you just create it on your computer and you spit it out, print it and you hang it up, but unless you're a printmaker or you have some idea, about what printmaking is and what silk screening is, then you would appreciate the pieces, But I've gotten great feedback from viewers who like you say, they like the energy and they like the colors and they like, what's going on, And then when I explain to them how it came together, then they appreciate it a little bit more, that it's actually more work than they even thought was involved,
Yes. Can you tell us more about your silk screening techniques so that we can understand better how are you creating your works?
So this one is called Barcelona, And this was made with subway performers I found in Barcelona, which was about in 2017. So there are three guys, the main subject. We go to the other one now, the other slide. That's the final piece, right? And then it's a silk screen. It's 18 inches by 26 inches. And I did this in 2018. And actually the Trenton City Museum bought an edition for their permanent collection, which I'm really happy about. This was in 2019. The next screen now would be, this is the first stage of actually creating the digital collage. And on the left, you can see the three performers that I photographed down in the Barcelona subway. I brought it into Photoshop, silhouetted, cut them out, and then put them together on the right screen.
So we always start with the photo, right? Or maybe video
Yes.
of the performances.
Yes, I take a lot of photographs, and then take it back to my studio. And once I see the photographs, I get inspired, and then I decide what I'm going to do with it. So here it is. I used the middle guy as the main subject because for a moment he looked at me and smiled, and I took the photograph.
So we captured the perfect moment.
Yes. So that's what I look for when I'm doing photographs too. When I take my photographs, I'd like an intimate moment, that I can use in my images. And by using that in my images, I interact with viewers when the piece is done, so they interact with the actual person in the foreground. So this piece on the left side is a digital image. And I thought I was done. But while on the press now, I decided to add a pattern to his his silver shirt. And I also added some copy here and, change the color of his hat to bronze, which is the color of the pattern on it. So in my next slide now, me preparing the paper. I use registration tabs on my paper after I cut it, so at least in the printing process, putting more lines up, so I get it in the right areas. I normally print like around 10 to 12 per edition, so I need to keep going. I get one color on, it goes on all 10 sheets, and then second color goes on this 10 other sheets. So on the right side of all my equipment that I use, the squeegee, the ink, my screens, and on the left, the lab, it's a studio I found, a printmaking lab. It's called Frontline Arts, and they have a great little that I'm a member there, so when I print, that's where I print. In the next slide, you'd see me preparing my film. So this film is what I get printed from my computer. I send that to a lab, and they would give me a printout that big, because I can't print on my little printer. Then I would prepare my screen with a light sensitive emulsion in the dark room, and then shoot it on the camera, which is behind me there.
Okay.
Then wash it out in the washout area. So where the areas that are open, like this guy here, that would wash out, so that when I put it on the press, ink would go through that part of the screen.
Right, and so that's how you put the color. And I guess it's one color at a time, right? And you have to repeat this process to get more colors.
Right, exactly. And then I have to dry out my screens before I actually put it on the press. So
right.
So I have to do this. In this case, I had to do it like 14 times because I had 14 different colors. So the next screen is how I start my process. And usually I start with the background. And the background is made up of what we call a CMYK, which in commercial printing, it means cyan, yellow, and black. So I start with those plates first. And usually this is what I expect to get, but I didn't quite get it in this one. But this was what should have come up. You know, I got it more muted because of the inks that I mixed weren't at the right percentage to get this outcome. But I was happy with it because I knew I was going to put on other colors and it was going to work out in the end. So the next screen is the different colors. So there's a blue plate, which is this blue down here. The orange, which is Barcelona, the name, and the yellow plate, which is the M train. So there's an M train in the back. It's not on this one, it's on the other one, but I just put it there. These are how the colors go down after I put on the initial four colors. So the blue was a percentage because it's a little bit transparent. The yellow I put up here was a solid yellow, and the orange had a transparency to it too. The silver was on the guy's shirt was 100%. So yeah, and initially it was supposed to stay silver, but it kind of looks boring, so I decided to put a pattern on it. So that's why I had to stop the presses, go back to my studio, create a screen for his shirt, and make sure it matched, you know, on my computer, which worked out. You know, I just brought up the initial image that I used, and I put the pattern on it, and then I created a separate screen with just the pattern. So the pattern, I decided to make it bronze. And in the next one, you would see. So this is a pattern, right? So I did everything else. And then I went back, I stopped, packed up, went home to my studio, created a pattern, and came back out to the print shop. And then print the screen on and then put it on the actual print. So this, I could have done it when I did the hat. Initially, I wanted the hat red, but while I was on the press, I decided I'm going to change it to bronze and have it match the pattern on his shirt. So, and you notice everything, all the screens are black because when you shoot them in the camera, it has to be black. But when it's on the press, you can choose any color and it'll turn into that color. It would screen onto your paper, whatever color you choose. So this is the image on the paper just before I put the last color, which is black. So that's how I choose my black, the solid black. You had asked in one of the questions,
yes.
How do I choose the black?
How do you choose which elements are in white, which are in black? So this is how.
So usually it's the plate with the most detail on it. So it covers mainly the performers and maybe aspects of the backgrounds, you know, that I would make like this solid black. So in the next slide, you'd see the actual black screen here on the press with the black ink on it, ready to screen the last color. And this is the black plate here with all the performers and parts of the background. And then this is the final image with everything together.
Wow, this is a really, really interesting and complicated process. Yeah, I think not many people understand, as you said, what really is silk screening. So thank you very much for explaining us. And we often put a little detail of the place where these artists are, like the street of the name, or give us some hint where it can be, like Barcelona Metro or any other place. And it gives this really urban vibe that we've been talking about to your prints. It situates them in a specific place in reality. Are these places important to you, or maybe they are just random places where you happen to find these artists?
You said it gives it an urban feel,
Yes.
which is what I love about these pieces too. And yes, I do look for I do take photographs of copy of the text or imagery of words and stuff that I find, and there's a lot of them in the subway. You know, it's directions, it's patterns, it's whatever, and I usually take pictures of the backgrounds, and if the backgrounds have words in it, I use whatever's there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's part of the whole look, you know, and I like the way you described it. It gives it an urban, you know, feeling
thanks to it, we can identify places. Like you showed me the map, and I could tell right away, oh, this is Barcelona Metro. Can you tell us what are you working on right now, Chee?
Yeah, so I decided to work on the figure, you know, and this one is going to be a mixed media piece because I also created a large silk screen of it, but it's going to be twice the size that I normally work at. So it's actually going to be almost like 30 by 40, the silk screen. So I have that in my computer waiting to create it. You know, and I've gotten in touch with a couple of print shops that can make the screens that big, and I can actually do it on site, which is a little bit about an hour away. I found this print shop, and then I also work with a print shop in Brooklyn, New York.
Is it difficult to find a print shop to do like very large silk screens? What's the limit?
They're out there, but you know, yeah, to me it's hard because you know I've just started to look for. In fact, I work with the shop in Brooklyn. They normally print my film out and send it to me. So they have the facilities to actually, you can rent the studio and go in and actually do your silk screen, or they can set it up for them and they can do it for you. So now that it's COVID, it's a little difficult, you know, to actually get studio time because a lot of the print shops, they're not allowing, you know, people to come in and work.
Yeah.
So it all depends, you know. But hopefully I'll get that one done this year. It's gonna be it's gonna be twice the size, and I'm really excited because I've been wanting to do this for like 2 years now, you know, and I actually attempted to make a screen double the size, but on this small press that I normally use, so I had to do double work.
Yes.
And it just didn't work out, you know. So I'm like, okay, it's over. I have to actually find a press that's this big, you know, twice as big to actually create the piece. And I found it, and you know, I just have to set up my schedule and their schedule, work with their schedule to see.
I'm already excited for you.
Yeah, so it's actually this imagery, but a silk screen of it.
Chee, I don't have any more questions. Thank you so much for being with me here today. It was my pleasure talking to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you and talking to you. And I hope we stay in touch. I'd like to find out what type of art you do.
Of course.
Right. And good luck with all your work and travel and everything. Okay?
Well, traveling right now is suspended. No, there are no travels, so I don't think so, but thank you very much. I wish you all the best too, and it was my pleasure.